Hello everyone, hope you're all doing fine. Welcome to today's session. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about basic structures in C. So every programming language has a structure or syntax of its own to be followed for you to execute your program without any errors, right? So similarly in C, the basic structure is divided or you can say it's bifurcated into six basic sections, starting off with documentation, pre-process section, definition, global declaration, main function, and subprogram, right? So we'll be looking into this detailing with an example. So let's just open this C compiler, that is online C compiler, and starting off with documentation, right? So what is documentation? Documentation, you explain what your code does in brief, and this particular line, it is called as comment line. Let's just type this print. Okay, I'm gonna print student details. This particular line is ignored by the compiler, and that's why it's called a comment line. It's for your understanding. Let me tell you why you need this. So, for instance, I'm writing a program here, right? The student detail. It's going to be like 10 to 20 lines. So, even without this particular line, you can make out what's happening once you go through the program. But again, for instance, I'm writing a code for a web page or an app development. In that case, I'll have hundreds and thousands of lines, and it's really hard for you to go through every single line and understand what's happening. So it's better to mention, and I recommend you guys to, have this habit of using comment lines to explain what's happening. So it's easier for you to understand. And then comes pre-processor section. So in this section, you instruct the compiler on how to process the rest of the program. So here I'm going to include stdio.h. So stdio is standard input and .h is header file. So this particular library, I'm going to use this because I need to print student detail. To print or to scan something, you're going to use this particular line. And there is a similar line that is Corner.h, that is console input output, but we're not going to use it now, so I'm not going to discuss about that. Let's just move on to the next one, that is definition, right? Definition. So definition, it contains definitions for all user-defined data types and functions. So here I'm going to define a structure. Again, let me type this down. What is struct? So struct is a user-defined data type that allows you to group together related variables of different data types. But here, let me name the structure. And here I'm going to use integer as a data type, and I'm going to ask for the roll number. And then again, I'm going to use int, and I'm going to ask for their age. But I can use float or, uh, you know, string, that is char here. But as it's a basic program about basic structures, I'm not going to use all those. You can just finish it off with a small program. So we're done declaring the structure, and now we are going to declare a global variable for this particular program. So again, this is a part of structure, that is global declaration. Again, I'll tell you why you need to use this. For instance, you declare a variable. There are two types of variables, all right? One is local and one is global. So the local variable that you declare, you can only use it in that particular function. But whereas the global declaration, where you declare a variable globally, it is accessible to all the functions. So here, to declare the variable, I'm going to call this particular structure again. That is struct student. Let's say this particular variable is student again with a lowercase s. And we're done with global declaration as well. And now I'm going to write the main function. This is the most important part of the program because main function is the entry point of all C programs. This is where the execution begins. Like as soon as you hit the run button, the compiler is going to search for the main function in the program. So we'll just declare a main function. And I've already declared a global variable here. So we'll just initialize and give the values to them. So student dot roll number is equals to, let's say, 123, and then student dot age is 20, and I've initialized the variables and I've given the values to them. So now what I've got to do is to print, that is the main motto or motive of this particular program, right? So we'll just get onto that. I'm going to use the comment line again, printing student details. So I'm going to use printf here. This is why I told you we are going to use this particular line. Without this particular line, when you're going to use printf, it's going to throw errors at you. All right. So printf, it's student roll number. And here I'm going to use percentage %d because whenever you are, displaying an integer value, you're going to use percentage %d in place of that. And then I'm going to use /n to move to the next line after displaying that one. So I'm going to display student dot roll number here, and I'm done with this line, right? And then moving to the next line, I'm going to again print student age, again percentage %d /n, and here I'm going to print student dot age. And don't forget the semicolons in this program, and it's again going to throw errors. I'll just show it to you. And again we got a return the main function, that is I'm not including a particular section here, that is subprograms. Subprograms are the functions that are called from other functions. It's going to be used only in a bigger program where you have to call this particular section to be executed there. So we'll just look onto that later in the session. So I'll just run this program here, and of course we got an error because here we forgot the semicolon. I just want to show you guys. So now we got the output. No, again here the semicolon. Yes, now we got the output, and this is the basic structure of C. Now, after all this, you might actually think I can just write this down like however I want to follow this particular structure. But let me tell you the benefits or advantages of following this. So, firstly, readability. Readability, a well-structured program is easier to read and understand, right? Like I told, it's easier to understand to you and to others. And maintainability. Again, you write a program in a single line or in a jumbled way, it's going to be hard for you to maintain the program in case there is some errors or if you want to add or remove some parts. And modularity. A structured program is more modular than a poorly structured program. And here, structured program is made up of independent modules. So you can, reuse this in other programs as well. And then comes the most important part, debuggability. Every time you get an error, you're supposed to debug that, right? And find what's wrong in your particular program. So here, this is the, main reason for you to follow a structured approach, because it's really, really hard to debug if the code is all jumbled and not structured. So debugging will be very, very easier if it's structured. You can just look at this particular program. It's a very small program, but still I've used a lot of comment lines to know what's happening and space them properly, that the compiler itself did. But yeah, that's the whole point. There is proper spacing for you to understand where the function begins, where the structure is declared and stuff. So this is a basic concept of C structures, and we'll be learning more about the structure here, and as well as global declaration, global variables. We have a different session for that, so we'll be learning more about this in the later part. Thank you for watching. Please like and share and subscribe. We'll be meeting in the later sessions. Thank you.